Hi everyone, Kay Kim here from Traders Club. Thank you very much for tuning in today. How you guys like this Korean music? Huh? Right? Weird? Different? I don't know. But anyway, I usually do my midweek update on Wednesday night. But yesterday I had a Q&A session with my blog followers. I did it on a monthly basis. It's a free event, so I do that. So feel free to sign up for that. It's on my website. If you go to a page called events, it's all there. I do another free event every third Wednesday, every first Wednesday. There's 2 monthly events that are free for you to attend. It went about 2 hours last night, and I had a lot of fun. So anyway, I wanted to look at the market here real quick and just kind of explain and just talk about a few things here about the market. I know that many are optimistic, and looking at the chart, rightly so, but there are some warning signs, some flaring that I see. That first of all, many of you follow my trades and things like that. One thing I'm not going to do in this situation is that I am not going to chase after this and start going to long positions on this. This is Dow Jones DIA ETF. I'm not going to start going long. That's the one thing I'm not going to do. You guys have been following me. I've been trying to short this thing. Didn't work out, but I'd rather trying to short this than going long. We had this gap here, and more I'm starting to believe that it might be an exhaustion gap. We do not know that yet. This was continuation gap. This was a breakaway gap. So is this the exhaustion gap, or is this another continuation? I don't know. But one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go long with indexes. I'm not going to start chase this and trying to make some profit just because we're start going higher. Like I've been telling you guys, there's always so much the market could run. You know what I mean? There's so much market could go before it's gonna, before it retrace, correct itself. It's not gonna go forever, and it could. Anything could happen. Maybe that tech bubble or .com bubble and just keep going higher. But what are the chances that we're gonna get something like that again, right? Are you willing to bet on that that's what's gonna happen now? Or are you willing to bet on that, we're looking at this past chart just from here, just 2011 to 2013 year, there's a correction here, right? Up and down. So we had good run. We had about 3 months of run. So there is, some correction possibly happening pretty soon here. It might not. It could continue, and just because there's a higher chance of correcting happening at this level, so I am not going to long. I'm not going to start adding to long positions on indexes. What I do see, something I want you pay attention to on this daily chart here on Dow Jones, is that these grinding higher candles here with the low volume, are we seeing something like this, or is this something like that? You know what I mean? That's the question. I don't know. Right? Look at that. And are we going to have another thrust before actually, possibly forming triple top here, before forming a triple top here? You know what I mean? Because, you can see that very similar here. Went up, kind of grinded a little bit. We had the initial decline, and then we thrust. Okay, and then we rested, and then we thrust. And then we, formed this double, triple top level, and then, we had that correction. So, are we seeing something here? We grind a little bit. We had the little decline correction. I don't want to call that a correction, but just decline there. And then we had that thrust here, and so maybe that was a thrust, and then maybe some waiting period, and then maybe this was a thrust. I don't know. Maybe there's another thrust. I don't know. That's why it's the hardest thing in trading, is to call tops and bottoms, and especially calling tops on this uptrend of this primary bullish market is tough call to do. You know what I mean? Because we don't know if this thing's gonna start doing triple top here. We don't know you're gonna have another thrust and do a triple top here. We don't even know if it might just even continue. But I want you to look. I want to go back to March of last year, right? March of last year, and look at something. Did I say March of last year? I meant, what was I looking at? Here. Yeah, March of last year. I don't know what I'm saying here. But anyway, last of March here, you can see that's pretty similar. We had the initial decline, and then we had some grind here, and then we thrust, and then we got that right there. Does it kind of look like what's happening today, right? That, you know what I mean? What happened? Well, this was exactly March of last year, and today 2013, but it's last year. So are we gonna start to trace a little bit and then form a just mini double triple top and to find some support there and trying to get up again, trying to push again, but then find resistance at that level and correct, right? And correct. So let's go back to today. We're right there. Right there. So how do we do this, right? How do we do that? I mean, look at that. It seems like it happens every time. We get grind, and then we get that little decline, and then we get that thrust, and we get that little action here, just kind of grinding action there, and then we kind of form that top. And here we get up, we get the initial decline. We had a 2 thrust at this time. We only had a 1 thrust here, but we had a double thrust there, and then we did that, and then we found the triple top, and then we correct triple top, and then did that. So here, a little bit different, but we grind, decline, thrust, another thrust with the gap up, and then we're doing that. So here, what are we looking at? Something like this, or something like here? Or is it some part of there? I don't know. But we're at that level. We're at the level that possibility the correction is going to come. We're at the level that this isn't where you shouldn't be going long. This is, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if this continues. If it continues, great. Because if you've been going long, you keep doing it. You keep just holding your positions until it doesn't work anymore. Just like what I've been doing with Apple. You keep shorting and you keep holding your short positions or puts until it doesn't work anymore, right? That's what but would I jump in right now to the long side? No, I wouldn't. Just like I wouldn't jump in, with puts on an Apple currently unless we break that support. And that's another discussion, but you know what I mean? Because it get to that point that where it can only run so far. You know what I mean? The buyer's gonna get tired, just like you. You can't run forever. There's only so much you can run before you need to rest. But what I'm really concerning right now is what I'm really, thinking about right now is dollar index. Okay, you guys know, many of you know that dollar index and the market, they kind of go inversely. Okay, so what I wanted to show you right now is this. Right here, right, this level. This is where dollar index found support. This was May 1st, right on the dot. May 1st, right? We found support and did this. Dollar index did that for about a month, right? What I wanted to look at is I want to go back to Dow Jones. Look at May 1st. May 1st. Right here. May 1st. It did that. So I want to look at today. Okay. You know what? Let's go back to dollar index here. This is UUP. I want to look at this day. This is where we found support. And this is February 1st. February 1st we found support and we did that. Let's look at Dow Jones. February 1st. Right here. What did it do? It didn't do this like it should have. Well, I don't want to use, I hate that I hate that word should have, because there's nothing should about the market. Nothing should do something. Anything could happen. But what I'm looking at is a divergence. Obviously, they go inversely, right? But once the dollar index and the market start to go together, start traveling higher together. Because if we go back, it's going higher. But when I look at UUP dollar index here, it's going higher. Dow going higher, market going. What is this, right? I mean, last time, this year when it did that, Dow did this. But here, that's not what's happening. So that's another indicator of divergence, right? Dollar is strong, but market is strong. Is this really strong, or is this kind of a stubbornness and a denial from the buyers, or is this these high volumes happening right here? This is high volume. Every high volume was caused in this vicinity from the sellers. So those selling pressure came from the institutions, right? You could say, I don't know, but from the volume activity and things like that, and how big the candle was, probably. But can we say that the market, the public, and the, I would call them uninformed players, amateurs, and these traders, are they maybe a late bloomer that they let's go to the moon, we're in a bull market, let's keep pushing things up? And is that what's happening? I'm assuming that might be what's happening currently, right? Because we all know that if we keep pushing this up, and it could go higher, but when you push things up too high, it's going to crash. I mean, I'm not saying the market crashed like it did here. That's not what I'm saying at all. But are we looking at something like that, like steep decline, at least to 100, maybe even to 200, because 200 found, we found some support there, at least to 100 SMA here, because we've been finding support and support. This is Dow Jones Weekly, by the way. So I am not convinced, and I am not going long, and I am not going to, start saying that, hey, we could go higher and higher, and we could. It's gonna be another 20-point bull market. I don't know. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna start trading that way. And some people are talking about, well, we're breaking the all-time high. We're breaking all-time high. Aren't you excited? Isn't this another era that we're gonna get into? 150 points on Dow Jones, maybe, but I'm not gonna bet on it, because what are the chances that actually could happen? Right? If we look at these cycles that we go through, what are the chances that it's going to just continue, right? Even here, this is a weekly chart on Dow Jones, and I was talking about this in a Q&A session yesterday. Well, this was all-time high. Initially had that, pullback. Okay, let me redraw that right there. And this was breaking out point. All time. And this is a weekly chart, so that it's a 1 week of that. And don't you think that many people are excited because we're hitting that all-time high, and they got in at the top. They got in at the top. They think that this is going to go, right? Maybe could have. Maybe, it could have done that, because again, but what are the chances? Like I always talk about probabilities, right? I can work with probabilities, but I cannot work with guesses. I cannot work with, well, I feel it in my guts that, man, this is gonna be new air. This thing is gonna go, right? I don't know. I won't chase it. That's what I would tell the same thing. Even if you continue, I wouldn't chase it. And then what happened next day? This happens. So like another grind higher. This is 1 week, so people are happy. Some people are making money going long. But next week, we got that. That's a huge. Engulfs at least for 3.5 weeks of, almost 4 weeks of candle there. So I'm not saying that's what's gonna happen. But I am not going to start betting that it's gonna just keep going higher, and you know what I mean. Plus, we've already seen that dollar index and market has been traveling together, and that in itself is divergence already. So from what I can see is that from this point and this point, the sellers really rushed in, as you can see the volumes here, or high volumes that created there. You know what I mean? I just think that it's being pushed. It's being pushed, and that there is gonna be. It's inevitable, in my opinion, that sooner or later, we may be at this level. Maybe it's gonna have another thrust, and then it could correct just like it did here, or what we seeing here is what we saw last March. You know, last March here, you see that it went up and then came down initially, but that was initial topping pattern there. So I'm not going to go long in the market, and I'm going to be very careful with long positions. So that's Dow Jones, and quickly let's look at S&P. You know, similar story here with S&P. So I don't want to go too deep in it, but you know, we're after this huge bearish day, bearish candle here, and we talked about this. When you see this with that kind of volume, what do you say? You say, man, we're gonna find this is a jump start right here, and we're gonna go bang, it's gonna go higher, right? But you see that candle with that kind of same volume, are you gonna say that this thing just gonna go even higher and higher? You know, if you're really doing a technical analysis, I didn't, and I won't, because that the candle itself told me that it won't, but it did go higher. And something like that does not happen often, but it did happen. But I just proven it to you that, you know, looking at the dollar index and whatnot, there's a divergence. It's been pushed. It's that this public's getting in because what you can see is volume. There's no increasing in volume, right? There's no increasing in volume. There's continued decline in volume. I mean, even on this day, look at this white candle. We had a huge volume there, but yet we found that was shooting star, and we found topping pattern. It corrected itself even then, and that just proved that there's only a certain amount the market can run, right? It cannot just go forever, even though we had this huge bullish run. And can you imagine so many people getting at the top here, you know, and later to find out that was the top, and then we had the initial correction. And then, you know, many times, and I talk about this correction is not necessarily a bad thing. It needs to be there so that we could find some rest. The bulls can find rest and have another thrust, you know. But what I am worrying, looking at the dollar index, is that it's been pushed. Like, you know, when you keep working without good day about rest or sleep, let's say you've been working 3-4 days without a sleep, right? What are you gonna do? Initially you're gonna crash, right? You're gonna, maybe during the work, you're gonna faint or something like that. You're gonna be in the bed for weeks. Then if you actually had a initial correction, you had an initial rest, and then continue its work, continue bulls work. But a lot of times when you get this kind of run, bulls are stubborn. They don't want to end. They want to continue to go. And many times it's kind of similar to our human emotions. Once we find pleasure, once we, you know, find ourselves in that enjoyable moment, we don't want it to end. We want to keep going, and then maybe that's what's happening here. I don't know, but one thing I know that I'm not going long. So QQQ, you know, same thing, and I'm still, yet we are a little bit above. You know, now I look at it, we kind of went above, we're grinding at that level, so there's still possibility that this is head and shoulders here. You know, I don't know. We do have a declining volume here. So again, similar story here. I mean, we had this just massive selling, and then it just kept pushing. But then you look at that volume, it's keep declining. And so, you know, I'm not going long. And I thought maybe if we can come back down here, but I you know, assessing it one more time, I thought maybe it comes back and then, you know, find that as a new support, you know, old resistance, new support thing, and then it could come back to 70-40 level. You know, you can maybe go ride that long, or even coming, maybe that it's gonna become a resistance or whatnot. But no, at this point I won't anymore. I think I changed my mind that I'm not gonna do that. I'm not going to do that. Just looking at the Dow Jones and S&P, I'm not sure when it's going to correct, and you know, I have a feeling that it could be pretty ugly there. So, lastly, I want to look at Apple. What I wanted to look at is this. It's this level. 360 is where I think it's gonna go, and I think that's gonna be the ultimate bottom, and that's just my opinion. If we close below and stay below, you know, close below that, what I'm saying is a candle staying below and not just a wick. I want the body to close below. I believe we're going to 360. Okay, and we did we're seeing some sideways movement action here. Won't be surprised, maybe come back here again to tag it and then come back down. You know, I'm not sure. I'm still holding my puts that I got in here, 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 here. I close out 50% at this level, and I'm holding rest, and I'm willing to hold through this level, and I want it to break. So that maybe I can add some more at that level once it break that 420 and then ride it to 360. But still looks very bearish, and many people are talking about possible divergence or anything. There's no divergence, guys. Please, there's no divergence. This isn't a divergence. You don't draw your divergence like that. This just isn't. If this is the case, if this was the divergence, it should be confirmed on the weekly, but we got nothing on the weekly. Is there anything on the weekly? No, there's nothing. There's no divergence on the weekly. There's nothing here. And so, you know what I mean? That's not how divergence works. So there's no divergence whatsoever on Apple. Bullish divergence. I mean, you wanna see how daily, because you could even say like this. If this was a divergence, right? You could say, well, that's a divergence right there, okay? But for that to happen, I say, okay, let's check the weekly if that confirms. It did. It did confirm, right? And remember, I was writing the article about that. So you see something like that. And plus, like the stochastic RSI divergence, they're not as important as a MACD divergence. Okay, MACD is what effectively you can measure the divergence. MACD is moving average convergence divergence, because these MACD measures divergence. So when you're looking at this and you say that's a divergence, it's not a divergence, because when we go to weekly, we don't have that. Where is the divergence here? We don't have there. It's not confirming it. But here, let's say at the top, that's a divergence. But now we have to confirm it on weekly. Does it confirm the weekly? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's why now that was a strong divergence, because not only we had divergence here, and then we also divergence at a bigger scale, which that confirmed the weekly. But here we do not have divergence confirming on the weekly, so there's no divergence. And I'm not going to count on that right now. And plus, MACD being at this level, like it's not at that level. It actually came up. This actually gives me more confidence that it could go lower. There's a room to go lower, right? Because this was where we found support there. So then we go 360, which I think is going to go, this is where it could be, and then bounce, and then this is where it could go higher. So that's what I'm looking at. And I because I got a lot of questions on that, so I'm not sure we're finding any kind of divergence. So, but we're looking at 420 level here. If 420 is broken, I'll say that 360 is where it's headed, but we'll see. But thank you very much again for tuning in today. Thank you guys for following me and things like that. I hope you guys have a great night, and hope you guys have a great weekend. And then let's see Friday how the market, react to it. But happy trading. Have a great night. Thanks. Bye.